rocket.
Band for the center mark. And Centaur has gone to closed loop view control in a slightly fuel-rich mixture ratio correction. And a quick look at the booster stage performance shows a very nominal booster.
For those of you that are just joining us, we had an on-time liftoff of the Atlas V rocket carrying NASA's InSight spacecraft, as well as 2 small CubeSats called Marco.
This burn is scheduled for 8 minutes and 56 seconds in length.
You are looking at a live shot of the Centaur second stage, the RL-10C engine providing thrust.
And the RCS line temperatures are warming bottle temperatures as expected. Centaur now going just slightly fuel rich. Pressures, LOX pump discharge, and fuel venturi all within band.
We're at 7 minutes 15 seconds into the flight. InSight being taken to its trajectory. This will be the first of 2 burns of the second stage.
Systems look very good at this portion of the burn. Up on the roll to optimize to Tetris East.
And Tetris East is a tracking data relay satellite east.
And the RL-10 again continues to perform very well in requesting a fuel-rich condition at this point of burn. Chamber pressures, LOX pump discharge, and fuel venturi all parameter. RCS line temperatures have nearly achieved bottle temperatures. Continue to see our thermal conditioning firings on the RCS. Tank pressures are stable. Powder rates look good. Storage bottle levels are excellent.
We are just over 9 minutes into the flight of InSight.
And so
you continue to see the flight path on the bottom right of your screen.
Centaur is currently flying at an altitude of 136 miles. Downrange distance is 1,261 miles. Current velocity 14,066 miles per hour.
This trajectory of the flight path will put the spacecraft and the Centaur in a park orbit before crossing the equator. It will go around the southern tip of South America. It will cross the southern edge of the Atlantic Ocean, come up over the Indian Ocean to the east of Africa, and cross over India.
They are nominal. RL-10 performance is as expected for the center mark. Centaur is currently at an altitude of 131 miles, downrange distance 1,461 miles, current velocity 14,790 miles per hour.
We are 11 minutes into the flight of InSight. We have about 2 more minutes left in the first burn of the second stage RL-10 engine.
Tank pressures, body rates, throttle pressures, all in family.
We're coming up on about 1 minute left in the burn of the RL-10 of the second stage.
1 minute remains in this first burn. Our EU controlling air nominal, RL-10 chamber pressure, LOX discharge, and fuel vent all appropriate for the SETMR. RCS and line temperatures look good. Still seeing thermal conditioning firing.
And we are now 13 minutes into flight, very close to the second stage engine cutting off for the first time, for one of 2 burns that will
Centaur
take.
is now orbital. And we have MECO. Shutdown looks good. We have 4 S7 motors on.
And you just heard confirmation from United Launch Alliance Marty Malinowski that we've had MECO. The second stage engine has cut off for the first time. The first burn of the second stage RL-10 being complete, we now begin the long coast phase of this mission. The coast phase will end when the RL-10 engine ignites for the second time for over 5 minutes. Start of the second Centaur burn will begin over northeast Russia. The end of the second Centaur burn will be completed over the northern Pacific Ocean. After the end of the second burn, we'll coast for about 9 minutes so that the Goldstone Deep Space Network is in view for the separation events of the InSight spacecraft and the 2 Marco spacecraft that are traveling along. And that will happen over northeastern Pacific Ocean off the coast of Oregon. So with the long coast phase underway, we'll now go back to Stephanie Martin. Stephanie?
Thanks, Josh. For missions to other planets, the flight path has to be extremely precise to ensure the spacecraft lands or orbits in the correct direction. NASA's Amanda Griffin sat down with Callie Burke, the trajectory analyst for the InSight mission, to learn more about her work for today's mission.
So Callie, tell us a little bit about your role for InSight.
My role is the trajectory analyst here at the Launch Services Program. And so my job is to make sure that the rocket drops the spacecraft off at the right place and time and space. We have to consider these really complex journeys. You know, it's not just doing an equation once. The Jet Propulsion Lab, they do these things called pork chop plots. And so they consider many months they could launch and many months they could land on Mars. What's the weather conditions going to be like when they get there? We want to get communication during landing. So are the right satellites in place, or are we looking back at Earth at that time in the landing site? So there's all these considerations. And so we have 35 days we're looking at that we're launching, but only one day that we're going to land. We actually have a 2-hour window that we're able to do on each day. And so that's 25 opportunities. So there's 875 possible ones we analyze.
Wow.
Yeah.
So to launch from California, what's different?
Here from Florida, we launch east safely, and we can go somewhat to the north and somewhat from the south. But from Vandenberg, if they launch east, they're flying over people, and so we don't want that. So we can launch to the southeast, as we are for InSight, and then we can continue going west and launch safely.
So we've heard a lot about planetary protection. So what is that, and what is your team doing to try to help mitigate that in Mars?
So we have somebody here at NASA who's called the Planetary Protection Officer, which after a 9-year-old applied, I'm now joking, it's the Guardian of the Galaxy. That's why he said he'd do great. But the Planetary Protection Officer looks to both protect Earth from any microbes we bring from space, and then we also consider Mars and Europa, where we think there might be life. We want to protect them from bringing Earth bugs and basically creating life somewhere as opposed to finding it. The spacecraft, which we plan to have land on Mars, has been very specially clean. There's a whole team, but we don't do that with the rocket. We actually aim the trajectory a little bit away from Mars. We don't aim it straight at Mars, so that we don't pollute Mars.
Well, here's wishing you all nominal calls on launch day.
Thank you.
And a successful flight. Thanks, Callie.
We are 17 minutes into the flight of NASA's InSight spacecraft on its way to Mars. Our own Tori McClendon is in the Remote Launch Control Center with Scott Messer, United Launch Alliance Program Manager for NASA missions, to get an update on today's launch. Tori?
Thank you. So, Scott, tell us how it's going so far.
Well, so far, Tori, things are really good. It's a very nominal count, and it's a beautiful, beautiful launch. A little foggy out there, but everything's going well and right on track.
All right. So, as we all know, United Launch Alliance is definitely no stranger to Mars missions. You've launched the Spirit and Opportunity and the Curiosity rovers. So, what is it like to now have sent InSight on its way to Mars?
Yeah, so you're right. We're very excited. We've actually launched every Mars mission since 1960, so we've done a lot of them. And but this one is super exciting, obviously, because we first launched from the west coast of a planetary mission onto Mars. So it's very exciting. And anytime we go to Mars, it's very exciting for us to give our customer a great ride and create mission success, so that the InSight mission can do what it needs to do when it gets to Mars.
So, this has been a very busy year for you guys so far. Let's see, this is the 5th launch for United Launch Alliance so far in 2018. It's the 2nd NASA mission. All right, so what's up next for the team?
So, we've still got 2 more missions left to go. We've got the Parker Solar Probe mission going to the Sun, which launches in July, and then, of course, our last Delta II mission, which launches in September from out here in Vandenberg. So, a busy year for us with 4 missions. And very excited.
Oh, thank you very much. We're looking forward to the rest of the year and the rest of today. Thanks, Stephanie. Back to you.
Thanks, Tori. With many scientific missions, NASA partners with international space agencies to explore and discover new science. In fact, InSight has instruments from France's National Space Agency, called CNES, and the German Aerospace Center, known as DLR. NASA's Blair Allen has more.
Thanks so much, Stephanie. Yes, it's very exciting. We just witnessed an incredible launch, and we're here with 2 very important members of the space community, Jean-Yves and Pascal. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll start with you, Jean-Yves. Just thinking about the significance of InSight and the partnership, tell us a little bit about what it means for the French Space Agency to launch and see a launch of the InSight mission.
In fact, as you know, we have a very strong scientific community in France, which is totally devoted to Mars. And this is why we are on a number of Mars missions. And for us, InSight is perhaps not the ultimate, but a very, very important mission, because we are going to beat the heart of Mars with the seismometer that we put on board of InSight.
Yeah, and obviously that